Dallas Cowboys. FanDuel says, win Super Bowl, 18-1, over/under wins, 9.5. Strengths: Dak Prescott is a very good quarterback, regardless of what the talking heads on your television might say from week to week. The defense, led by superstar linebacker Micah Parsons, was 5th in the league in points and yards allowed per game last season. Weaknesses: the offensive line lost 2 starters, including Tyron Smith. The defense lost coordinator Dan Quinn. There could be even more on the shoulders of Prescott and ace wideout CeeDee Lamb because the running backs might be terrible. Philadelphia Eagles. FanDuel says, win Super Bowl, 13-1, over/under wins, 10.5. Strengths: A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith are a fantastic combo at wide receiver, and Saquon Barkley might look more like the guy who was unstoppable at Penn State now that he's with a more competent offense. Quarterback Jalen Hurts, like much of this team, was great in 2022 and significantly less so last year. He has a new offensive coordinator, Kellen Moore, to help regain his form. Weaknesses: the worst defenses in the NFL last year were a group of the worst teams in the league, and the Eagles. Former Broncos coach Vic Fangio is here to fix that. This is the 7th team he's been a defensive coordinator for. Jason Kelce and Fletcher Cox retired, leaving a huge hole on both lines. New York Giants. FanDuel says, win Super Bowl, 150-1, over/under wins, 6.5. Strengths: after adding defensive end Brian Burns to a front 7 that already included Dexter Lawrence and Kayvon Thibodeau, the Giants could be great on defense and win some rock fights. Running back Devin Singletary might help the team miss Saquon Barkley less than expected. Weaknesses: quarterback Daniel Jones is back, but is he good? He's an exciting prospect, but rookie Malik Neighbors might be the best skill player by default. If that front 7 doesn't get to the quarterback early and often, this might not go so well. Washington Commanders. FanDuel says, win Super Bowl, 120-1, over/under wins, 6.5. Strengths: Daniel Snyder is still not the owner anymore. The Commanders are starting over with a new coach, general manager and Heisman Trophy winner Jaden Daniels at quarterback. There are dozens of new faces, led by running back Austin Ekeler and linebacker Bobby Wagner. Valor Christian's Luke McCaffrey is here too and might start as the 3rd wide receiver in his rookie year. Weaknesses: this team was terrible last year. The Commanders are digging out of a bad roster situation on top of everything else that has gone wrong over the past 3 decades. Daniels might not have enough help on offense, and the defense could improve a lot and still be bad. The Dallas Cowboys have officially concluded their preseason, falling to the Chargers 26-19 in a game that saw Trey Lance throw a whopping 5 interceptions. Of course, Jerry Jones already said earlier this week that Lance's roster spot is safe, but now the team will have to make decisions on which 37 players to cut between now and the start of the season. The Cowboys have had quite a few position battles of varying degrees this preseason, with most of them being more or less decided by now. Cooper Rush, for example, has cemented his status as the team's top backup quarterback. Rookies Tyler Guyton and Cooper Beebe have also locked up their starting gigs, as neither played at all in the final game following a strong performance all through training camp. However, one area that is even more complex and up in the air than it was when camp first kicked off is the linebacker room. The top 4 have been set in stone from the first day. Damone Clark and DeMarvion Overshown flashed potential last year, while veteran Eric Kendricks and rookie Marist Liufau were handpicked by Mike Zimmer. How the snaps actually shake out between these 4 in a league where nickel formations are essentially base formations now is a very different question. Kendrick seems like a safe bet to lead the team in snaps, if only because of his extensive history with Zimmer. Liufau has looked great every step of the way so far, and it seems like the Cowboys coaching staff is high on him. Clark and Overshone have two very different skill sets, but both have the talent that belongs on the field. Either way, it's a great top four to have for a team that, just a year ago, was so thin at the position that they asked second-year safety Marquise Bell to switch to linebacker. Not only has the front office done a tremendous job of flipping this room on the top of the depth chart, but the players behind them look good too. There are two veterans in Nick Vigil and Damian Wilson. Vigil played the first 4 years of his career in Cincinnati for then defensive coordinator Paul Guenther, now in Dallas as the run game coordinator. Vigil later joined Zimmer's Vikings in 2021. Meanwhile, Wilson played the first 4 years of his career in Dallas before heading to the Chiefs, where he won a Super Bowl. Both players have displayed their veteran instincts often this preseason. Undrafted rookies Jason Johnson and Brock Mogensen have had a few moments of their own as well. Johnson led all linebackers in tackles against the Rams and came up with a big sack, while Mogensen was one of 4 Cowboys defenders to pick off Stetson Bennett in that game. Both players seem likely candidates for the practice squad, but they've looked solid. Then there's the trio of Willie Harvey Jr., Buddy Johnson, and Darius Harris. Harvey was considered by many to be the shoo-in last linebacker after the team signed him from the UFL, but Harvey has struggled in run defense in the preseason. Still, his athleticism and physicality make him a value on special teams. Johnson, on the other hand, has flashed a bit more in each game he's played. Against the Chargers, he had 3 tackles and a nice pass breakup to top off what's been a very consistent preseason. Johnson's path to the roster is slim, but he certainly put his best foot forward and would likely be a top candidate for the practice squad. Harris came on late, though he came on strong. 6 tackles against the Raiders and a flurry of exciting near sacks against the Chargers showed what his potential could be in this defense. It may be too little, too late for Harris, but he's just one more linebacker turning heads in Dallas. Ultimately, this all comes down to how deep the Cowboys will go at linebacker. That will inevitably lead to some very tough decisions at this position, and a few nervous moments while waiting to configure the practice squad, but it's a marked improvement from the way this linebacker room looked this time last year. Cowboys have finished off their 2024 preseason and have, unfortunately, left many questions still unanswered. Star receiver CeeDee Lamb is still a holdout. Quarterback and MVP candidate Dak Prescott does not have a new contract and could be careening toward 2025 free agency. And we still have no clue what the Cowboys' ground game will look like in the coming months. Maybe we do. It will be a committee, which means it probably won't be all that effective. 3 preseason games gave us no clarity on how that committee will shake out, with the finale against the Chargers not doing much to solidify the picture. Ezekiel Elliott will be grandfathered into the RB1 role because of his history with the Cowboys. Rico Dowdle showed promise last year and could eat into Elliott's carries as the season goes on. After that? Malik Davis, Deuce Vaughn, Royce Freeman, Snoop Connor and Nathaniel Pete all got carries on Saturday. It's likely that 2 from that group, plus fullback Hunter Luepke, will remain on the 53-man roster. Connor and Pete are probably headed to the practice squad, if they stay in Dallas at all. And, from the perspective of ESPN, the guy tabbed to be the odd man out will be free agent signee Royce Freeman, who tallied 8 carries for 35 yards against the Chargers. Cowboys predicted to keep Malik Davis, Deuce Vaughn. Shortly after the end of the Chargers-Cowboys game, ESPN's Cowboys beat man Todd Archer predicted the 53-man roster, and had the special teams/excitability aspects of Davis and Vaughn being just enough to help them beat out Freeman for a spot on the roster. Veteran Royce Freeman gets caught in a numbers game here. He is similar in style to Elliott, so the replication of skills isn't needed as much. Davis has had an excellent summer and can be a core special teamer. It's on the coaches to come up with a package for Vaughn to make his roster spot worth it, Archer wrote. Indeed, the fourth spot will come down to Freeman, a traditional bruiser of a back with a style similar to that of today's Elliott, and Vaughn, the diminutive, 5'5", scat back who can ignite plays in the preseason but who might well be too small to warrant a week-to-week role on this roster. Royce Freeman had Stephen Jones' backing. Freeman is 28 years old and has 6 years of experience behind him. His best season came as a rookie, when he rushed for 521 yards in 14 games for the Broncos. Last season, he was a reserve for the Rams, and put up 319 yards on 77 carries. Last month, Team VP Stephen Jones seemed enthralled with Freeman, as he spoke with 105.3 The Fan in Dallas. "That Freeman guy has really impressed," Jones said, via the Dallas Morning News. "We were just talking about it, Sunday, at the scout dinner. What in the hell was he doing sitting around out there? An interesting guy to just have been sitting there." Jones indicated he thought Freeman would be on the final roster. "He's a great 2-3 combination in terms of what he can do as a backup," Jones said. "He's a big, thick guy. And he's a hell of a special teams player as well. He'll be a good addition and great complement to Ezekiel Elliott. And then we'll let these young guys between Rico Dowdle and Malik Davis, and those guys will battle it out."